Welcome to episode 26 of the Ryan Leatch podcast, man. Today I got with me a special guest, man, a legend, a pioneer, a trailblazer. Y'all welcome Rob Parker to the show. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Man, thank you for joining. Now, for those of y'all should know if you're living under a rock. If you don't know, let me just break it down to you. Everything that this man has done in his career. He was a former host and anchor on First Take, a contributor to Undisputed on Fox Network. He currently contributes to the MLB Network and is the host of The Odd Couple on Fox Sports Radio and the founder of MLB Bro. That's just the headlines. That's just the treetops. I know it's thousands of other things you've done as well.
Well, thank you, my man. It's been a long career, man. Next year, 40 years in the business. I still enjoy it. I'm still at the ballpark. I'm still at the games all the time. Still love talking about it. I'm as engaged now as I was back in the 80s. I still love it.
Wow. No, that's a blessing. I just want to give people a backstory of how we met. I know we had a mutual friend, Dylan Bruton, someone that you mentor as well. And yeah, he's always been talking about you to me. He's like, bro, Rob's a good brother. He's like authentic, genuine. He's like, I got to connect you with him. And then I told him I was going to be at NABJ. He's like, oh, Rob's going to be there. And it just so happened I ran into you at NABJ and you was mentoring somebody else I knew. So I'm just like, wow, Rob, yeah, that's everything that Dylan told me. He is genuine, is true, stand up, brother. Always looking to help out, always looking to provide for others.
Well, I mean, I'm going to tell people ask me all the time, and I've mentored a lot of people. A lot of people ask me to mentor them, and mostly because of word of mouth and people who I've mentored. They know, what I'm serious about it. I'm going to give you my time and energy, try to help you on your journey. It's not just a chance meeting or a one-time deal. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm going to help you. If you want help, I'm going to help you. And the reason I got into mentoring and wound up mentoring so many people is I got started my career real early. I was 22 years old, and I was a staff writer at the Daily News in New York. No way in the world should I have gotten that job. Everybody in there was grown, and this young guy, 5 months out of college, and I'm at the biggest paper in the country as a staff writer. And I wasn't an intern or an apprentice. I was a full-fledged staff writer. And a lot of people helped me, Ryan, like along the way. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, even back then when I was 22, I said, if I ever get in position where I'm able to help people, I'm going to do the same thing that people did for me, because I know I wouldn't be where I am 40 years later if people didn't look out for me and go, man, here's a young guy trying to make it in this business, and he's a hard worker, and I want to help him along the way. And you know what I mean? So that's where it really got kicked off for me.
For sure. As you mentioned, you were born and raised in New York, Queens, New York, to be specific. How was it growing up in current Queens, and what specifically sparked your interest in sports?
Growing up in Jamaica, Queens, where I'm from, was a blessing. Jamaica, Queens is a thriving community. We lived in a great community. And in fact, Ryan, in my neighborhood, and this is the part, I'm very proud of this. If you walked out of my old house, obviously we don't live there, the old house in that neighborhood, and walked down one long block, cross the street, guess whose house is across that street? None other than Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth lived in my neighborhood in New York back in the 20s, obviously. But everybody knows, if you Google it, they show you the house. It's authentic. Wow. It's his house. So I lived in a real, not rich, middle class, working class people. So I was very fortunate. Had a lot of good friends I grew up with. I was on a baseball team. Had 11 guys, 10 other guys and me, all in the neighborhood that we grew up and whatnot together. So that was, life was great. I delivered a local newspaper, the Long Island Press. I had a paper route, and those kind of things. And I really wanted to be a baseball player. I lived and breathed baseball every day. I used to wear a baseball cap every day. I would walk down the street imitating my pitching motion, you know, and all that. The
Yeah.
girls in the neighborhood said, you know, Rob, Rob, one day you're gonna grow up and marry a baseball. That's how much they knew I loved baseball. So even the girls back then, when I was 12, they were like, "This dude, all he care about is baseball." My God.
Uh-huh.
So I always thought that was funny.
uh,
Um, so, you know, and then you realize at some point you're not that good. You know what I mean? I'm not going to play first base for the Mets. So I was like, um, what else could I do, you know, to stay in sports and whatnot? And I had a
mm,
teacher back when I was in second grade. Her name was Miss Noble. And I tell the story all the time because it's unbelievable. So in second grade, you're 7 years old. Miss
mm.
Noble one day pulled me aside and she said, Robert, she looked at me straight in the eye. I'll never forget it. She was a young teacher in her 20s. She
Wow.
said, Robert, when you grow up, you should be a writer. You're an
Wow.
excellent writer. So she
Wow.
gave me that confidence about writing at 7 years old. So I took that, put that in the back of my head, you know, like writing. And
Yeah.
then I was growing up in New York, the same thing. I realized I'm not going to be a Major League Baseball player. And there was an old TV show on called The Odd Couple, which is the radio show my show is named after.
Mm.
And it's about a sports writer and a photographer, and they lived together, and one was clean, one was dirty, and it was just a fun sitcom. And I
Mm.
used to watch that show religiously, and I used to say, man, the character Jack Klugman played Oscar Madison, a sports writer who had his column picture in the paper. And I was like, that's what I want to do. If I can't make it to the
Wow.
big league, I want that job. He has a great job. He travels the country, covers all the games, he eats food for free in a press box. I was like, that's what I want to do. And
Uh-huh.
that really is what gave me the
Wow.
idea. I had nobody in my family's in journalism or was on TV or radio, none of that. I mean, it was just literally that second grade teacher and watching
Wow.
this TV show, and it turned into my life.
No, that's a blessing. Yeah. Sometimes we get that advice when we young or that teacher, and then it sticks with us. And it obviously has paid a long way for you. You went on to attend Southern Connecticut State University. What made you attend that school? I know you grew up, you're from Queens, and then you end up in Connecticut. How was that transition, and what exactly was it about CSCU that stood out to you?
You know what? I wanted to go to Syracuse, and we couldn't afford it. I mean, that's the school I wanted to go to, but we couldn't afford it. And so I looked in some journalism magazines, and a school that was recommended was Southern Connecticut State University. So,
Wow.
and I looked at it, I was like, I didn't want to go to college in New York. I just wanted to get away and have a new experience. So I didn't even apply to any schools in New York. And my friends thought I was crazy. I was like, I'm not going to a school in New York. I want to go away or whatever. And Southern
Mm,
Connecticut wasn't that far away. I thought this is great.
yeah.
Connecticut's 2 hours away. You know,
Mm,
there's the dorm life. You know, it wasn't a commuter school only, you know. So I was like, I could live on campus. I wanted to have that kind of experience. And then the journalism program got high ratings in this
wow.
magazine. So I was like, and so I applied and I got accepted. And that's how I got to Southern Connecticut. And it was a
Wow.
great experience. I graduated in 3.5 years, almost 3 years. I went to summer school every summer. And my
Wow.
last semester, I only needed 5 credits. So I graduated
Uh,
in December of 85. My graduating class was May of 86. So I
wow.
actually had a job, was working, and came back for graduation with my classmates.
Wow. Okay. So you always been hardworking, diligent. What made you just want to knock out that degree fast? Was it I got to get to the workforce fast, or what was it? You were like, I just rather knock it out in three, three and a half.
Yeah, you know what? I was always a perennial overachiever and hard worker. And I
Okay.
always felt like I could do anything. And this stuff was stuff that I really enjoyed. So for
Okay.
me, I worked in the summer. I used to sell shoes. I was a shoe salesman. I would do
Gotcha.
summer camp in the morning with kids, do sell shoes at night, you know, in the afternoon and at night and the
Mm-hmm.
weekends. And then I would take classes too, you know, when summer camp wasn't in swing. And I just have always been that. Even in my career, I've always had
Mhm.
2 or 3 or 4 jobs. I teach now at USC. I
Yeah.
work for MLB Network, KNBC in Los Angeles, Fox Sports Radio. I've always been that way. I've always had 3 or 4 things I've always been involved in. And then obviously I have my own stuff, MLBBro.com and whatnot, which is in our 5th year. So that was just who I was, my makeup. And when I was in college, I was able to get all these credits in summer school. And when I came back for senior year, imagine I just needed 5 credits, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great feeling, and I wanted to have an advantage of everybody. And my
Mhm.
thinking was, everybody's graduating in May. What if I'm ready and available in December? I'm gonna
Mhm.
have the pick of jobs where some paper might not say I can't wait till May. I need somebody now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Where everybody else is graduating in May. And
that's
so
smart.
when I graduated, yeah, I had 5 job offers and I got to pick where I wanted to go. So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, that's a blessing. That's smart planning too. You could say your first major job, correct me if I'm wrong, was with the Detroit Free Press as a sports writer in 1993.
No,
Become the, no, you
it
said
was
no?
it was no. That was the big one and the one that I hold
Okay.
dear to this day. The
Okay.
first one was the Daily News in 1986 because I was only
Mhm.
22 when I got that job. But let's
Uh-huh.
flip forward, go to the Free Press. I went to the Cincinnati Enquirer to cover baseball in 1991. I was the first black beat writer who ever covered the Cincinnati Reds. And the
Got it.
Cincinnati Reds are the first pro sports team in the history of the United States. So that's where that
Wow.
history goes. So I went to
Mhm.
Cincinnati for a couple of years. I loved every minute of it. And then I was offered an opportunity to go be a columnist at the Detroit Free Press. And at the
Okay.
time, the Detroit Free Press was 161 years old. I was the
Mhm.
first black sports
Yeah.
columnist the paper ever had.
Yeah.
And it meant a lot to me then, and it still means a lot. And,
Mhm.
I went to Detroit, and the people knew I was from New York, but they embraced me because
Mhm.
they felt I represented the city the right way, and I was all in on Detroit. And I wound up
Mhm.
having a 20-year career there and writing for both newspapers, working for 3 or 4 radio stations, working for 3 or 4 TV stations there. I mean, I really made my mark in Detroit. But
Yeah.
getting that job, I was 29 years old. So I was really young getting a column for a major newspaper. The Detroit Free Press back then was a top 10 newspaper.
Mhm.
And it means the world to me, even to this day. When people talk about I've had better jobs as far as having fun, doing stuff or whatever. But the
Mhm.
most important job I ever got was being the first black sports columnist in Detroit in
Got it.
1993.
So you mentioned the Cincinnati, you were the first black beat reporter, and then you come to Detroit Free Press, you're the first black sports columnist. That didn't stop either. 1995, you got hired at Newsday in New York, and you're the first African American general sports columnist. So basically, your whole life you've been a trailblazer. Now, what does that mean to you exactly? Just opening so many doors, breaking down so many barriers, and just how difficult is it to be the first person through?
Yeah, I mean, it comes with your bumps and bruises, and I'm appreciative, and I've been in the business a long time, and I've had a lot of people come up to me who grew up in Cincinnati, reading my stories and my baseball columns, and said, "Hey, I wanted to be a baseball writer because I used to read you in the paper, or I was a columnist." There's a ton of sports writers and broadcasters out of Detroit who all grew up watching me, on television and reading my columns when they were teenagers, and now they're 40-year-old men, and they're like, man, I was inspired by you when I
Mhm.
saw you on TV and listened to your radio show, and I read your column in the paper. So you realize the impact that you can have with people. And, I don't take it for granted. I think it's important. People need role models. People need mentors. Like in this business, uh, you need people to help you along the way so that you can have a chance at really being successful, so that you don't make the same mistakes that maybe I made coming up. I can direct you to sidestep some of those things. And sometimes when you're feeling down or bad, or people are telling you you're not that good or whatever it is, you need somebody to talk you through those moments. And I'm going to give you two examples. One involves me and one involves Stephen A. Smith. The one with me is when I was at the Daily News and I was 22, there was a copy editor there who just didn't believe that I belonged there. I was too young. I shouldn't be a writer at the paper. And he was going to, make me feel bad every time I made a mistake or anything. That was what his goal was. So most 22-year-olds would have been afraid to death. This guy's name was John Gruber. But I didn't look at it that way. I did the exact opposite. Rather than being afraid of him and staying clear of him and saying, that dude don't like me and this and that, what I did is I put the onus on him, Ryan. So what I did was every day when I came in and I had a story in the paper, I would go straight to his desk and I would say, hey, John, can you read my story and help me make it better? I made him help me. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's one thing to be critical of my work. It's another thing to be critical, show me what I can do to improve and help me improve on it. If people are only giving you criticism, it's hard to respect their opinion. And what I mean is your boss should call you when you do something well and call you when you do something that's not good. Because there you are where something's good, keep doing that. And something's bad, stop doing that. But to only get a call when something is bad is not good management and not good for you as far as learning and developing. So put the onus on that person. Quick to Stephen A. And Stephen A. was one of the first mentees I had. And we met in 1992. And he's working for a small paper in North Carolina. He used to send me his clips in the mail. We didn't have cell phones. We talked on the house phone. It was just, simple life. And he called me up one day and he said, hey, I'm quitting the newspaper business and I'm going back to New York. No, I'm going to work for Wachovia Bank. And I have an application I'm going to fill out. And I'm like, Steve, what are you talking about? Nah, they won't give me an opportunity down here. I'm tired of fighting with these people. They won't. I said, Steve, I've been reading your stuff for 6 months. You have talent. You can't let these people determine your career because they don't see your talent. People make mistakes all the time. I made Steve rip up his application to Wachovia Bank over the phone so I could hear it. I heard him rip it up.
Wow.
And all I'm going to say is the rest is history. I don't have anything to do with his success, but at that moment where things were bad and he was questioning whether he should even be in the business, he had a mentor there to talk him through that moment, that stress, that situation. That's where mentors are vital, because he might have made a rash decision off of one or two people making a decision on his life.
Absolutely. And I watched the video you sent me and he repeated that story word for word verbatim. Like, he's like, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Rob. So that's a blessing for sure.
Before my career even got started, I had become so despondent and not being able to capture that first opportunity. I actually was going to quit pursuing my dream to go and work at Wachovia Bank in North Carolina. That's how bad it was. Rob cussed me out. Said, no way, no how. Hey, look, okay? You just can't be like that. You can't give up on your dreams, okay? That's just whack. It's just whack. That's what he said. I listened. And that was the beginning of listening to him for the next 30 years. Just a great man, a great friend.
Your first on-air opportunity was as a mainstay on the Detroit sports television in 1994 when you were contributing to WDIV's Sports Final Edition. Was TV always the goal for you when you got into the business, when you started writing and things like that? Or were you just like, I want to stay a writer? Or were you always looking at TV as maybe a goal or an end goal for you as well?
It was never a goal. It was just like, I had no issues with being on television, but it wasn't. I wanted to be a sports writer. I wanted to be a columnist. I wanted to have my picture in the paper. That's really what I wanted. And I got to Detroit, again, being this first Black sports columnist at the Free Press. I was offered a chance to be on a local sports show. And Fred McLeod, the late, great Fred McLeod, was the host of the show and sports anchor at DIV. And Fred is the one who identified my television talents from day one. And he's
Wow.
the one who pressed me and was like, no, you got to be on. You're good. You have something to say. You're funny. You got facts. Like in fact, when I started doing Sports Final Edition, in the summer, I would take off and Fred wouldn't even let me take off from the show. He would be
Wow.
like, take your blazer with you wherever you're going. We'll get a satellite and you'll still do the show. And that's Fred. I'm on vacation. No. You got to do the show. You got to do the show.
Wow.
And the thing that I always respected about Fred is that he always made me have feel good about the impact that I had on the show. And a lot of guys in television wouldn't do that. And he used to show me the ratings. They changed my time slot for where I was on the show. When the show first started, I was in the beginning of the show. And then I was watching one night and they put my segment all the way near the end of the show. So I said, Fred, why am I at the end of the show now? I don't understand what happened. And he says, I'm going to tell you what happened. I'll show you the ratings. He said, when you were on in the beginning of the show, the ratings were high. As soon as your segment was over, the ratings dropped all the way down.
Wow.
He showed it to me and said, your segment is so popular, we need to hold the audience as long as we can. So if we keep teasing that you're coming, they're going to keep watching until the end of the show. And that's what they wound up doing.
Wow.
And at one point, they were having financial, cutbacks at the news or whatever, and they were going to cut me off the show.
Wow.
And one of the main sportscaster there, Bernie Smilovitz, went to the general manager and said to her, "If you take Rob off the show, cancel the show." Like that. If you take Rob off the show, just cancel the show because it doesn't. And of course, I wound up staying there, and I wound up working there for 20 years and enjoyed every minute of it.
Wow. No, that's a blessing. Yeah, that just shows you the impact that you had right away. What was the biggest adjustment for you going from news and writing to TV? Or was there any adjustment at all? Was it seamless, or was there different nuances and things you had to pick up being on TV for the first time?
Yeah, about just, looking at the camera when you want to make a point, but it was all about being natural. And that's what I was working at earlier. Just being natural, be yourself. You want to laugh at something, smile, pay attention to who you're talking to, be ready to follow up with questions and stuff, like have an interaction like you would have with a friend or a buddy at a bar or hanging out somewhere. And I think I came across as very natural and easy to listen to and not afraid to say stuff. And you have to have something to say. Yeah. And I think that's why you see like all the biggest TV stars, quote unquote, in the media today and long time are all former newspaper reporters. Will Bond and Stephen A., Chris Broussard, me, Jamel Hill, Michael. I could go on and on. They all came from a newspaper background. Mark Spears. I mean, the list is so long. But we all came from reporters' backgrounds because we have information, we have knowledge. And that is what drives everything. You got to have something. What are you saying? Do you have a take on something? And what is your take based on? People could disagree. People disagree with me all the time on the radio, but what they can't disagree with me is how I got there. Because I'm going to lay out my case brick by brick so that you understand why I said what I said and how I got there. You could disagree, but it ain't just half-cocked, out of left field. I'm just saying it to say it. No, how did you arrive at your point of view? It's not enough just to have an opinion. You got to, based on what, Ryan? I tell people all the time, what your opinion, if you have an opinion, always ask yourself, based on what? And if you can answer that question, then you have a strong opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Got to be fact-based. Got to have that evidence to back it up as well. In 2005, you were able to get on national television on First Take as a contributor. to First Take with with Skip Bayless at the time, then later on Stephen A. Smith. What led to this opportunity?
That was another one. I was on ESPN at Classic had a show, and I was on that first. I was on Stephen A's own show. Quite frankly, I used to be on that. I was on Quite Frankly, ESPN Classic. And then actually there's a little known story that actually I started first with Cold Pizza, because the segment First and 10, which turned into First Take, was on a show called Cold Pizza out of New York. And I was on that show. And I actually tried out with Woody Page, who was the original host. It was Woody Page. I tried out for the second spot. And they told me at that point, asked me if I was in Detroit, would I move to New York? I thought I had a great shot at being Woody Page's partner and getting this job. And then they told me that they would call me in a couple of weeks, and then the call never came. And then the next thing I know, they hired Skip, and it was Skip and Woody. That's what started. And then that transformed. We left New York, went back to Bristol, turned into First Take. And that was a great experience. I loved every minute of it. I worked at ESPN for 8 years. I enjoyed it. And I know we were on the ground floor of something that, has been a big part of the sports media landscape. And I was one of the founding fathers, not bragging or pat myself on the back, but I was there early on.
Yeah, you were there. Yeah, absolutely.
I was, and I'm proud of that. Matter of fact, there's only 3 of us who worked on Cold Pizza, First Take, and Undisputed. Me, Skip Bayless, and Chris Broussard. We're the only 3 who worked on all of the first 3 original shows. Wow.
Yeah, no, that's a blessing. Like you said, you were there on the ground floor. You were there on the ground level. And it seemed like your chemistry with Stephen A. Smith and Skip was seamless. Like, y'all 3 were a great combo on television. What made that relationship so seamless and able to work with them and make great chemistry on TV like y'all did?
It's ESPN First Take, the hottest sports debate show in America.
That's good.
I'm Rob Parker.
You're not Rob Parker.
In for Jay Crawford.
You're not Jay Crawford.
Skip Bayless to my left, Stephen A. Smith to my right.
I think we all had an opinion, and we understood there's a show. Like, yes, there's a show. Television is entertaining. And I think some people have knowledge or whatever, but they don't have the personality to do television. Everybody can't do television. They can be well-spoken or have information, but they don't get that this is a show that people want to be also entertained, not just somebody reading stats and saying, I think LeBron James. That's not going to work. Or stating the obvious, which a lot of people do, and stating the obvious. Oh, that guy's a great player. Well, we all know that. Give me something else. And I think all 3 of us come from the same cloth, and that's why it was great when we were together and we would go at it with each other. It was all natural, unscripted, not fake, not phony. People always say, "Oh, you guys planned on who was saying what." No, we never did that. Not ever once. And I enjoyed those years. I'm always, when I look at my career and the things that I've done, I'm proud to be a part of the First Take legacy that was. I mean, it means a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. You were also able to stay with Skip when you went to Undisputed. He would have you as a contributor on there with him and Shannon. How was working on Undisputed? And I guess you and Skip have to have a great relationship as well for him to contribute on this show as well at Fox Sports.
Yeah, that was a big opportunity and a break. I was back in Detroit, after my contract wasn't renewed at ESPN. I had been in Detroit for about 4 years, just working locally. And Skip got the show and called me and said, "Hey, do you want to come to LA and be a part of it?" It meant a lot, at that time to get back on the saddle, get back on that debate forum. And it opened up doors for a lot of different things, So working on that show with Shannon and Skip and it was a fun show. I'm kind of still surprised that it's not around anymore, but a lot of stuff happened, but it was definitely the next level from First Take once where we had it it ramped up even higher to me the next
Wow.
time we all came together, and the addition of Shannon. And then that allowed me also, to get a national radio show, that platform at Undisputed, and now being at Fox Sports Radio for almost 10 years now, and doing The Odd Couple and the success that we've had, first with Chris Broussard and now with Kelvin Washington, all came from, me coming to LA and having this opportunity.
For sure. You're one of the only you, Jamel Hill, like there's a few others, but you're unapologetically Black. You're going to stand for what you stand for, and you're not going to waver. No matter how big you got, no matter how far you've risen in the industry, you've remained unapologetically Black and defended Black people as well. Where does that come from, and why is that so important to you to stick up for us and defend us regardless of the situation?
Cause I'm always going to call it like I see it, and if people don't like it, it's fine. But if I see something that's wrong, I'm going to call it out, and I'm not going to be afraid. I was given a forum. When somebody gives you a column, that's for your opinion, and if I can articulate it and give you some facts and figures and stuff to back up my point of view, I should be able to have that point of view the same way that other people have had columns and been on television. I was never told what not to say or not to say in my whole career, 40 years, which is incredible. So when people say that we're company man and we work for the man and all that kind of stuff, it's just not true. It's just I've never been in any circumstance or any situation where somebody told me, don't write about this, or don't write in support of Black people, or don't write about, or don't say this, or don't say that. I haven't worked for those people. So I don't know if people have been told that, but I'm telling you, at 40 years, newspaper, radio, television, my radio show has 400 plus stations that I'm on. And not once have I ever had a conversation. Hey, Rob, tone it down. That's too Black. That's this. That's that. Never. Be you. We've hired Rob Parker to be Rob Parker on the radio, and that's who I'm going to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I got to bring this up. You are looked at as a prophet for how you predict. You are looked at as a prophet about what you said about RG3 in 2012, calling him a cornbread brother. And since then, he's done nothing but prove you right. You said, huh?
Cornball. You said cornball.
Oh, cornball. Yeah. Cornball. And then since then, he's done nothing but prove you right. I know people come up to you all the time and ask you about this and tell you about this and like, man, you hit it right on the head. How does it feel to be vindicated all these years later? And I was going to ask, how often do people come up to you and bring this story up to you?
Yeah, I mean, it happens a lot, obviously. And recently some stuff has happened. Even Ryan Clark on his IG wound up mentioning me, we owe Rob an apology or whatever. And I don't wallow in it. I don't have any ill will towards RG3. I really don't. I don't wish him ill will. I'm not mad at him. I don't have that kind of relationship. I just, at that time when that topic and story came up, it's just something that struck me that, why should we, there's the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, there's the Polish Sports Hall of Fame, there's all kinds of other where people recognize their own. And I think that the topic was something about someone saying, he had the chance to be the greatest Black quarterback ever. And he took offense that Black was there. And the reason that I accept it is that there are people where color or ethnicity won't factor in. You don't say Michael Jordan's the best Black basketball player because he's the best basketball player. But there's levels to every other thing. So the idea that you have Joe Montana or Tom Brady or whoever you want to pick there, so the next thing you would say is, when you look at Black quarterbacks, is RG3 had the great rookie year that maybe he might excel and be this great Black quarterback. That's what it was. And it could have been, if you told me I'm the greatest Black sports columnist who ever walked the earth, I would embrace it. I would love it. I'm cool with that. I don't have to, if you don't think I'm the greatest columnist ever, sports columnist, okay. but the greatest black sports. I'm embracing that, and to prove that point on how much I admire our people and our accomplishments and what we've done is, last year I started the Black Sports Writers Hall of Fame at North Carolina A&T. There's a Sports Writers Hall of Fame. There's all kinds of other things, and that's good. And I'm not mad at that. But I also want to be able to make sure that our people and our accomplishments are not pushed to the side and are recognized. Our first induction class last year, Bill Roden, Claire Smith, and Mike Wilbon. You can't ask for 3 better journalists in this country. And none of them were offended to be in the Black Sports Writers Hall of Fame. All 3 embraced it, loved the idea. They all showed up. It was great. The students got a chance. The reason I put it on a college campus is so that students could meet them, rub elbows with these great people, share experiences with them. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about. And that's why. So I'm the opposite. I'm the reason I started MLBBro.com, where we cover black and brown major leaguers, because I thought there was a void. Yes, baseball is covered as a whole, and MLB.com does a good job, but there are stories about black players and their journeys and who they are that are lost. And I thought that we should cover black players. And people say, well, why they got to be black? Well, we also have ESPN or Fox Sports Deportes, right? And what do? They cover Spanish-speaking players, don't they? They cover their people, their culture, and it's okay. Just like there are 50 Japanese reporters who cover the Dodgers every day. And guess who they write about? Shohei Ohtani. They don't write about anybody else. They write about Shohei. And that's okay, right? Japanese people want to read about somebody who's like them and who they can idolize and their own people. So why should that be an issue for us? It is no issue. And as you know, Major League Baseball partnered with MLB Bro because they saw the site, they liked what we were doing, and I think this is who I am, and that's why MLB Bro is alive. That's why the Black Sports Writers Hall of Fame is alive. And even though it didn't last for long, I started and launched the first all-black sports talk radio station in Detroit, Sports Rap Radio, and it was for the same reason. As I was in Detroit, and then I was the first person ever hired for sports talk radio in Detroit. And a couple of years ago, in a city that's 85, 90% black, they had no full-time black host on the air on sports talk radio. Can you imagine that? And that made me want to start Sports Rap Radio and let black people have a voice on the radio to talk about sports.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, as everything you went on, you've accomplished so much in your career. You've helped so many people along the way. You were actually inducted into the National Association of Black Journalists Hall of Fame in 2023. And then in this October, you'll have the press box at Southern Connecticut State University named after you. When you take a look back and look at all the people you've helped, all the people you mentored, all the accomplishments that you've done, what in fact are you most proud of?
Ryan, that's a great question. Because am I proud of being a staff writer at the biggest paper in the country at 22? Absolutely. Am I proud of being the first black sports columnist at the Detroit Free Press? Absolutely. Am I proud to have a national sports talk radio show? And when Chris Broussard and I got the show, it was the first show with 2 black guys and none of us being former athletes. So it was another first for us, and obviously being a part of the sports debate culture. But of all the things, and I know it hasn't happened yet, and it's October 4th, it's a month from today, actually, it will be having my name on that press box and at Southern Connecticut State University. And I'm going to tell you why. The school has been around since 1893. And there is no black person's name on any building or structure on that campus.
Wow.
And I'll be the first one. And I want people to look up and look at that name and see Rob Parker Press Box, be interested to know, who is that guy? What did he do? and to get his name up there on the press box and inside the press box. And I think that's the lasting legacy, and all the other stuff great, but I just think there's something about having something up there forever,
Absolutely.
which to me is hard to even imagine, and I don't know what my reaction will be. I don't even know, Ryan. Will I shed a tear when I see that? I still remember me and my mom taking a Greyhound bus from New York to New Haven to go to the journalism orientation, and me and my mom discussing whether, about this career in journalism and whether or not makes sense. And nobody black was doing it back then, of being a writer and making a living and all this stuff. And I convinced my mom that this is where my heart was. And she said, I'm behind you all the way. And she's passed on now, but I'm sure she'll be looking down on that day and
Absolutely.
seeing her, this moment and this situation where we didn't even know back in 1982, where we would be and what the situation would be. Could we even afford to pay for college? We were starting it, but did we know we would be finished? Did we know I'd be able to get jobs in the business and last this long, 40 years? So I think it's going to be the press box more than anything else.
Wow. Absolutely. And I can't wait to be there. That'll be in Connecticut as well. So I'll definitely be in attendance for that monumental moment as well. Before I let you go, I know you're a contributor to MLB Network. You have MLB Bro. You have The Odd Couple on Fox National Radio. Where else can the people find you? Or if they just want to hear from you more or anything like that?
Yeah, on social media, you can find out where I'm doing all that stuff. Rob Parker, at Rob Parker MLB Bro, at Rob Parker MLB Bro. And, I'm still motoring, still got a lot of stuff to do, get accomplished. The mentorship is very near and dear to my heart, as you know, Ryan. It means a lot to me. So I'm going to continue doing as much as I can. God willing, maybe I have 5 or 6 more years left in the business, and I'm going to work as hard as I can until I'm ready to hang them up. But I'm very proud of where I'm at, happy, but I'm not finished.
Absolutely, man. Like I said again, did not have to do this. He's always extending his hand, always looking to help the next person out. So I appreciate this for sure.
Absolutely, Ryan. Thank you.
No problem. Take care. Rob Parker, everyone.